Hey guys, welcome in 30 books in 30 weeks. The lighting is still bad, no matter what I do, it's bad. So welcome in for 30 books in 30 weeks. My name is Marcy Batiste. I am your ultimate power coach, and I am so glad that you guys are joining me. We're having a conversation today about sexuality, sexual confidence, and how that all plays with self-esteem. And we're doing this with this week's 30 books in 30 weeks reading selection, which is 50 Shades of Grey. It is our teachable tool in our 30 books in 30 weeks personal development journey. So I'm glad you guys are here for this conversation. Feel free to share the video out, invite some other folks into the conversation. It's a juicy topic. It's a topic that a lot of people aren't comfortable talking about, sexual confidence. And sexual confidence in the terms of conversations, as well as it relates to actions and what happens behind closed doors. For many of you, those of you who don't know me, 30 Books in 30 Weeks is a personal development journey that we started the end of last year. We're 196 days into this year, plus about 2.5 months last year, where I took some of the most impactful personal development books in my personal development library, and I broke each one of them down for you over the last 27 weeks, and I've shared takeaways, tips, tools, ahas, nuggets, breadcrumbs, whatever you want to call it, with you all, in hopes that you can have something that you can take away with you and implement into your life, your relationships, or your businesses as we go along. My name is Marcy Batiste. As I said, I'm your ultimate power coach, America's #1 reality-based success and recovery trainer, and I welcome you to the Ultimate Power team. So today's conversation is about sexual confidence and self-esteem. And just the term sexual confidence is enough to make people uncomfortable sometimes. I'm aware of that. I'm very aware of that. And I tend to, as a reality-based trainer, I tend to like to tackle some of the conversations that tend to make people a little bit uncomfortable, if you know what I mean. So in that vein, today's subject matter is about sexual confidence and the impact it has on self-esteem. Some people would argue that one always comes before the other, in a certain order. In other words, that you have to have good self-esteem in order to have strong sexual confidence. And that's not the case. It's not the case at all, actually. It can go either way. Sometimes the most, physically appearing beautiful people, the sexy people as they're called sometimes, are the most insecure and have the lowest self-esteem. Everything about them is wrapped up into their appearance. So how they dress, what they look like, physical prowess, etc. And so that plays into their self-esteem. You can have the best body in the world and be terrible in bed. That's just a fact. You can also have not such a great body and be amazing in bed. That too is a fact. The interesting thing is, though, a lot of my work is with women. I do a lot of work in trauma recovery, so from domestic violence, sexual assaults, and I work in the field of cognitive behavioral therapy. So how our thoughts, beliefs affect our behaviors, which then in turn affect ultimately our self-esteem and things like that. So I share all that to say that you really could be brought up in an environment where sex is just really taboo. The whole subject matter of sex is taboo. And so while you might have great self-esteem, your sexual confidence is really, really low because it was something deemed inappropriate to talk about. It was something that good girls didn't do. It may be a situation where you were assaulted in your past, physically violated, and so sex becomes a really, really source of contention for you, and so there's no sexual confidence there. But what I can tell you is that sexual confidence can become a great self-esteem enhancer. and people with good self-esteem are oftentimes still uncomfortable talking about sex. And so you have to learn to marry the two things, so that you find that flow that's just right for you. I do truly believe that you can, one of the things that I do is I work with women and men too, but sex tutoring and relationship tutoring, right? And just from some of the comments that I get and questions that I get from clients, both male and female clients, about sex and sexuality and what's good versus what's bad, what's too much, what's not enough, and the things that make people uncomfortable vary from so many different degrees. But what I tell all of those clients is that you have to find what's comfortable for you. And when you find what's comfortable for you in a sexual aspect, focus on that for a while. Get really good at that. It might just be that one thing, that one move, that one technique, that one thing that you do, that you feel that you do well, and enhance that. When you get really good at that, all of a sudden your sexual confidence begins to climb. When your sexual confidence begins to climb, you're getting feedback and you're getting reward, per se, from your partner. That builds up your self-esteem. And so a lot of times the work that we do with women, especially on self-esteem, starts with sexual conversations. Like, there's so much curiosity about sex, and there's so much curiosity about other lifestyles, alternative lifestyles, and things like that. But they're perceived to be such taboo topics that everybody's like, oh gosh, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that topic. And so I love this book because this book forced some of those conversations. It forced people to ask some questions. It forced people or encouraged people to explore other lifestyles. It gave a glimpse of what some alternative options are. It gave a safe place in the pages of this book for people to begin to explore their sexual curiosities. And I was thinking about Anastasia in this book, and how at the beginning of the book, she's a virgin. She enters into this dominant submissive relationship, but by the end of it, she's exuding a great deal of confidence. At the beginning of the book, she's not advocating for herself. She doesn't really speak up. She kind of just plays the backdrop and kind of lets life happen around her, and doesn't really speak up for herself, both in a sexual way and out in the world and in the workplace and in friendships and things like that. But by the end of the book, she had gained enough sexual confidence that spilled over outside the bedroom, and she started gaining confidence in other areas. She learned how to advocate for herself. She learned how to advocate for her needs and her wants and her desires, and to stand up to an abusive employer. That's one of the benefits. But it takes work. I don't ever want people to underestimate, when we talk about these different things, the amount of work that it takes to build sexual confidence. I run a group called A Casual Drink. On Facebook, it's for women. On Instagram, it's co-ed. And there's, I think, around 200 women in that Facebook group, and probably 2/3 of them never say anything. They watch, and I love that. I love that they find, there's still a safe place for them to explore the questions. Sometimes someone will post something, someone in the group will post something, and it'll elicit a comment or response or a like or something from someone who doesn't ordinarily comment on any of the posts. And so it's refreshing to know that if you provide people a safe place and a safe space, which is what that group was designed to do for women, to be able to explore those conversations, they just like watching some of the other women who have more sexual confidence have their conversations and the outlandish stuff that we talk about sometimes. On the Instagram, it's co-ed. and I'm just kind of all out there. Some stuff is posted for shock value, some stuff is posted for education, some stuff is posted just for fun, but it's to give people a full sense and a full flavor that you can be have a high level of sexual confidence, have great self-esteem, and not be overly sexualized. In other words, you can still be respected. And that was one of the big things that I wanted, people to understand, but women in particular, to understand that, admitting that you like sex, having questions about sex, getting in touch with your sexuality and your sexual desires, learning to advocate for what you want in a sexual relationship. That's important to your self-esteem. It's important to your well-being. I believe sex is a wellness activity. I could be crazy about that, but I know I'm not, because it physically has chemical changes in your brain when you're having sex. There's endorphins that are released, kind of like with exercise. There's certain hormones that are released that are genuinely good for your well-being and good for your health. So the benefits of it far outweigh the negatives. It's just that society's placed such a negative connotation on the subject matter of sex. And so I love to be able, in my relationship tutoring, in the sex tutoring, in a casual drink with the ladies, to be able to have these conversations, even now, to be able to share this video, to share this book, and not from a kiki type of experience. It's truly from a learning experience. It's a personal development tool, but you have to learn to look for the tools in everything that you do, and it's about how you approach things. It's about how you approach the conversations. Can you have a grown-up conversation about sex? Can you have a grown-up conversation about sexual desires and not be overly sexualized or perceived to be a freak or whatever the case may be? And even something like that, the term freak, the term alternative lifestyle from the book, that's society based. Society is giving it a meaning that it doesn't necessarily have. If that's your personal desire between consenting adults, and I shared a video earlier this week on the choices of consenting adults. As long as it's between consenting adults, it's kind of just your business. And I think that you should be able to learn to be comfortable in that environment, to advocate for what you want, have your needs met, have your desires met. So that's my message for today. I really wanted to talk about the link between self-esteem and sexual confidence, because they do go hand in hand, but they are two very separate and different parts of our personalities. And so if you guys have questions, my inbox is open 24/7. Go check out, for the ladies, go check out A Casual Drink. It's a group on Facebook. Would love to have you in there. Love for you to partake in the conversations. Or it's also available over on Instagram, co-ed, open to the public. And as always, if you guys have questions, my inbox is open 24/7. Just ping me. Otherwise, thanks for living life on Mars, and thank you so much for being a part of the Ultimate Power Team and joining in on the conversation today. Have an amazing weekend, guys.